Now, the migrant mayhem has taken a turn as the government is planning to seek short-term visa deals for the under-30s, which would allow young people to work and live in the UK.
This would be part of the Global Britain strategy, and it means that countries including Mexico, Malaysia and South Korea could be part of the deal. So we're asking this morning, is this a sign of Britain that can't really wean itself off migrant labour?
Let's talk to one of our colleagues, Albie Amankona, who thinks we have a tight labour market already.
And Matthew Goodwin-Freeman, who's a Conservative councillor and thinks that Made in Britain is the way forward. Good morning to you both. Let's start with you, Albie. What's your view in all of this?
My view is that it's a neat solution to a problem that we face in Britain, which is that we have a shrinking labour force and an ageing population. You will have remembered reports last week that the government was trying to encourage the over 50s back into work by telling them to get on their bikes and become delivery drivers and plug the labour shortages that we have. No one was very happy about that. So this week the government is saying, well, they want to fill those employment gaps with short-term migration of under 30s from partner countries like Malaysia, Mexico, and this might even expand out to countries like Germany and France as well. These migrants would be young people under the age of 30. It's not a route to settlement. It's just people here on temporary visas for 2 years. And then, of course, the converse is young people from Britain would be able to go to those countries and work as well. So that the impact on migration figures might actually be neutral.
So what do you reckon to that, Matthew?
Well, I think it's good to see young people being considered by the government, but it's not our young people. You know, young people already work in hospitality, they work in bars, they work in cafes, they work as childminders. And those are all these things that the government's trying to fill with this. I mean, we have 1.55 million people claiming unemployment benefit on job seekers. And we have 1 million vacancies. I mean, the maths doesn't add up there. So instead of trying to look abroad at trying to fix our problems, why don't we look inwards? Why don't we look internally and see what we can do here? Because young people already in this country take up summer jobs, take up jobs filling these vacancies. So I don't see why we need to keep looking abroad. We can fix this problem ourselves.
Well, Matthew, is it not because we've been trying to get British people to do a number of these jobs and they simply don't want to do them, whether that's fruit picking or whatever it might be? And there's all sorts of schemes that the government have been outlining, things like trying to give life coaching or management to people going back into work, or tax benefits for over 50, or as Albie was saying, trying to get over 50s onto their bikes for Deliveroo. It's not necessarily translating, and yet for the economy, we need these jobs filled.
But the fact is, if you don't have a job, you aren't at the luxury to say, well, I don't want to do that. That's the point. If you're taking state benefits, you aren't at the luxury to say, oh, but I don't want to do that job. Oh, and I really don't want to do that. So I think I'll sit and wait. Thank you very much. You know, we've got 1.55 million people claiming unemployment benefits, and we've got 1 million vacancies. We could fix this problem overnight if we wanted to. And I think, you know, I think back to my time at school. I took up a job after school cleaning the toilets, cleaning the desks, hoovering the floors. I'd come in the next day and friends would say, oh, did you enjoy scrubbing the toilets? Did you enjoy doing that? I said, well, it's a job. It's a bit of extra money. And frankly, I'm not above any job. You know, I'm a student. I'm learning. It's a bit of extra money. And that's the attitude that I think we need to take. So we need to look at our own country. You know, young people already take on summer jobs. They do incredible stuff, but half the time they don't get any recognition for the extra responsibilities that they take whilst also studying.
Albie, you mentioned a labour shortage in this country, which we need to fill. But there's a fundamental problem, isn't there, when you also said, but, you know, this is reciprocal. This means that our young people can go to Mexico or South Korea or... So, I mean, we can't import some people whilst exporting at the same time. That makes no sense.
I think it makes complete sense because ultimately for the countries that you have just mentioned, South Korea, Mexico, I think the UK is a much more attractive proposition for those people to come here for 2 years and work than it is reciprocally. So I think until this scheme expands to countries like Germany, France, perhaps Canada, Australia, And New Zealand as well, the CANS UK scheme was something I was really excited about after Brexit. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a problem with more British young people going to those countries than they are coming here. I think this is a really exciting opportunity for Britain, and I think it should be expanded. It's something which young people, I think, would really benefit from, and it's something which we can offer as Conservatives to young people at the next general election. Go and work in another country for 2 years, learn a language, learn a culture, learn a skill, and then come back and use those skills here.
I suppose with the loss of Erasmus schemes and all the issues that have been widely reported about problems with, say, au pairs coming in from Sweden or nearby, this is an opportunity to try and broaden those international links, I suppose, Albie. But what would you say to those people who say, well, actually, by importing people for a couple of years on these visas, they'll presumably be doing jobs for low wages because they're better paid than they would be in, say, wherever it is, in Mexico, and that's undercutting the economy here, and that is why British people don't want to do these jobs. And actually we need to say, no, we need to try and create a better high-wage economy here in the UK.
Isabel, I think that's a really important point. There are some regulations in place that allow employers actually to pay immigrants less than British workers. I think that is totally wrong. I think what would need to go in place alongside this new policy, if it is pursued, is the getting rid of that regulation. You know, we should not be able to be paying immigrants less than British workers so they can undercut our labour market and push down wages for everyone.
There is a fundamental problem, Matthew, isn't there, in the sense that, you know, when it comes to things like hospitality, we do look down on those jobs. You look at, you only have to go to Europe or even the United States. Those are considered careers that people can really thrive in. We need to change our attitude to that, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Young people already take on roles in bars, as baristas in cafes, as au pairs, as childminders, summer teaching. You know, that's what young people already do, and that's exactly what the government is trying to fill. But when it comes to later in life, when it comes to job applications or anything like that, those are just seen as summer jobs. They're just seen as, you know, filling a gap for a bit of extra money. Let's be clear. If you've taken on a job, you've gone to a job interview, you've demonstrated you've got responsibility, you've turned up on time, you're often, you know, if you're a waiter, you're dealing with multiple pressures at the same point. These are respectable things alongside your studies as well. So we need to change our attitudes. We need to realise that a lot of people are trying to do their bit. And if we've got 1 million vacancies and 1.5 million people out of work looking for work, we need to look at our own. We need to made in Britain. That's what we need to get back to.
OK, look, interesting points. Matthew, Albie, thank you very much indeed.